Hey there, I'm Jesse, and you're listening to the Deep Lore Boys podcast, where me, Matthew, and Jackson delve into the random, rare, and often ridiculous pieces of human history.
No, this ship would have been gigantic.
It would have been awesome.
Dust bunnies are literally just small planets in formation.
He ended up beaten to death in Philadelphia.
America in general is pretty nice. Philly, though, like...
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Deep Lore Boys podcast. This one is a bit of a special episode, which I've said more than once in the past, but today's episode is going to be the Deep Lore Boys season finale.
Yeah. Guys, the podcast is over.
The podcast is over.
Podcast is
no,
over,
nothing is
everybody.
changing. I want to make that clear. We have decided that we are going to change gears, change seasons. We're going to move on to season 2 just to give the podcast a little more structure. Some thumbnails might change. The intro might change a little bit. You might hear some different music. We don't really know what all we're going to change yet, but we're going to switch up some of the aesthetics. The main show, though, is going to remain the same. Still, no lizard people will have infiltrated the podcast. We're going to keep that aspect written in stone.
For the fellas that were around at the very beginning, at the genesis of this channel, you might remember a certain episode 0 where we discussed some pretty interesting lore. We decided after a few weeks to remove episode 0 because, as we went on, it was good lore to discuss, but the content didn't really come out.
We were new.
Well, we were
our
new to the
mics
thing.
were not exactly pristine. Yeah, it was a bit of a pilot episode.
I dare say goofy even.
But as Matthew said, the lore itself was good. We went over Project Habakkuk, the HitchBOT, and the expanding Earth theory, which were all pretty interesting in their own right. So we wanted to redo them in a fashion that was not quite as awful to listen to as the one before it. And yeah, so for the season finale, we figured we would end it off as we began, going over these 3 topics. So I say, without further ado, boys, let's see what we got here. Project Habakkuk. It was a plan by the British during the Second World War to basically construct a big boat made out of ice. But when I say a big boat, I mean like a really heckin' big boat.
Mega big boat.
Mega structure boat. It was going to be ludicrously large because that's how the ice worked.
Well, okay, it needs to be stated. Yeah, this was not regular ice. This was pykrete, which is a mix of ice and sawdust. 14% sawdust and 86 water by mass. But apparently, it is not easy to break. It is
that's kind of the advantage of it
material.
over ice. It is that's it, right? It's just it's more frozen. It takes longer to melt, and it's stronger.
It's
which is
very,
why,
very strong. Yeah.
So why does it
which
take
was the
longer
advantage
to
of
melt?
using it.
Wouldn't it melt easier?
Because it's sawdust.
Sawdust doesn't melt,
doesn't
so
melt like that.
14% less melt per melt. So I should explain why they wanted to build an aircraft carrier out of ice. The reason they did this is because England, it's an island. There's water around it because it's an island. And so a lot of their resources that they were both importing and exporting during the war were getting sunk by German U-boats. So they wanted to put more carriers, more military ships out on the water, but that cost a lot of money and materials, which they were having trouble getting because all the boats were getting sunk. So they thought, okay, we need a cheaper way to build aircraft carriers out of something other than metal. And thus, Project Habakkuk was born.
Ice boat. If you think about it, it'd be like an iceberg, but in the shape of a boat, and it is a boat, except it's still made 14% of wood. So
But it was an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
So it did have like a runway on it. Like I don't.
You would have had a runway made of ice.
Yeah. So I don't want people to picture more of like a battleship. Like it may have had like a gun or 2 on it, but it was mainly used to.
Very big aircraft carrier.
Very massive aircraft carrier. I don't know.
This is, kind of the important note, I guess, was that this thing, it was going to be 2,000 feet long.
Yeah, I feel like I cannot stress enough just how large this boat was going to be. I mean, 2,000 feet long.
No, this ship would have been gigantic.
It would have been awesome. Stupendous in size. It would have been the largest boat on Earth, though, I believe.
It would be, it would be the biggest boat ever.
The longest boat ever constructed was the Seawise Giant, which I think we also touched on in the original Habakkuk episode. And that guy is 1,500 feet long. So this would have This would have been 500 feet longer.
The Seawise Giant. This is a beautiful boat.
Hold on.
Really
that's it right next to the Burj Khalifa.
The Seawise Giant is taller than the Empire State Building.
Okay.
Yeah.
This boat, if it was a real boat, if the Habakkuk was a real boat, it would have been almost as long as the Burj Khalifa.
It would have been cool.
I mean, for those of you that don't know, the Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world, and it's in Dubai. I mean, as of the time this episode was recorded. This boat was a boat of unreal proportions.
It would have been awesome.
It would have been cool. Really, it would have been cool. I think it's actually like a big shame we never got this boat.
There are advantages to using Pykrete, but there's also a lot of disadvantages. And like, as cool as this idea does sound, there are some things. As an aircraft carrier, I don't know how exactly planes would have been able to land on it because the ice would have made them slip when they were landing.
I don't think they would have landed on the ice. I think they would have had like pavement up there, wouldn't they?
But if you put pavement on, it's always hot when you put it on, so it would have melted the ice.
I think the biggest problem is just that even though Pykrete doesn't have this problem as much as normal ice, the ship will still sag eventually.
Yeah,
the ice will bend, it will change shape.
Yeah,
and
the ice, while it's strong, it's not going to be as strong as literal metal.
So I heard somewhere, for some of the research that I'm doing for my book, there's a giant iceberg in the book that I'm writing. Just here's a...
Well, oh my gosh, Jackson, can we actually spend this episode discussing the lore of your book?
Can we get the plot?
Not too much, because I do want to talk about it in a later episode. But yeah, I am
for real.
I am nine chapters through the book currently, and I definitely do intend to publish it. For my fans out there,
for the fans,
Jackson,
for the fans,
for the good of the fans. But some of the research that I was doing for the book that I was writing was that the inside of an iceberg is supposed to be like about -60 degrees. So obviously this is Pykrete, it's going to be different, but like, how cold would the inside of the Habakkuk have been? Like, could you have been able to actually survive inside of it?
Apparently, to keep the ice from sagging and flowing, you would need to keep the Habakkuk cooled at -16 degrees Celsius or 3 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what the giant refrigeration systems were for. So I don't know. I'm going to guess that it would be 3 degrees inside the Habakkuk.
Yeah, which would be kind of miserable. I'm not going to lie.
Eventually, they decided, the U.S. Navy, they decided the Habakkuk was a false prophet, being that the enormous amount of steel needed for the refrigeration plant inside was greater than the need to build an entire carrier out of steel. So just the money put into the refrigeration plant on the ship to keep it cold was more than building an aircraft carrier. So it didn't really make sense for them to do this.
Can you imagine just building a 2,000-foot long aircraft carrier, though? That'd just be cool.
I will say, though, that like, this would have been a massive morale thing. Like, to say like, oh, we have the biggest boat, like, and even now no one would ever build anything bigger.
Like,
yeah.
I will say this is a much better idea than the Novgorod, which we discussed in one of the other episodes.
Yeah, I will say at least the Novgorod was built, though.
Yeah, the Novgorod at least got some
the Novgorod was
anime.
built.
The Novgorod, like, basic common sense would prove a lot of the, like...
Hey, the Novgorod was perfect.
But, like, basic common sense would tell you that it would have some of the issues that it had. With this, it's not really, like, it's kind of a good idea. I mean, we can't really say it because it never floated, but, like, it's not...
Well, it was expensive. There is that one slight,
Yeah, but,
flaw.
Just print more money.
Yeah, it was built by the government, so yeah, just print more maybe.
Jackson, something you mentioned when we first talked about this was just the irony of, like, the Titanic, it going along and then it sinks because it hits the big ice. So then we come back in with the big ice as a boat.
Bigger than the Titanic.
Built out of ice. I wonder, is it bigger than the iceberg that sank the Titanic?
I would bet it is.
I'm going to say so.
How big do we know? I don't think we know for sure.
We know at all. I don't think an iceberg hit the Titanic at all. I think the Titanic blew up.
The iceberg was estimated at a mere 400 feet in length.
Oh, so
Not even a
so
big
this thing-
berg.
not even close to the Habakkuk.
This thing had nothing on the Habakkuk. No.
Building a giant boat out of ice just to get that revenge.
I do kind of want to ask, why was this thing called the Habakkuk? And is it Habakkuk or Habakkuk?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I always pronounce like the Bible book as Habakkuk, and then like the boat I pronounce as Habakkuk.
I forgot there was a book of the Bible called Habakkuk.
What happens?
I'm
in
a
that
pastor's kid, and I still sometimes forget about that book. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, the name Habakkuk was a reference to the project's ambitious goal, which stems from Habakkuk 1:5, which says, "Behold ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days, which ye will not believe, though it be told to you."
That is actually metal. That is metal, dude. I like that a lot.
That's kind of awesome.
So basically,
Oh wow,
we about to pull
Like,
up, do
we
some
boutta-
wild, do some wild, man. Noah in the ark finna be
Yeah.
quaking in his boots on God when he's seen
Noah hasn't seen anything. Wait, how
Noah
long
was
was-
not ready for
hang
this?
on.
The ark
How
was not as
long
big
was
as the
Noah's
Habakkuk.
Ark. No, I don't think it was.
It was not.
It would have split in half. It is 510 feet long biblically, or 300 cubits. So yeah, not nearly as long as the Habakkuk.
And
I
it's
mean,
made out of,
respect to
like,
my man Noah,
cedar.
though.
Yeah, full respect. He managed to pull off a 510-foot long wooden boat. So you know what? He is simply on another level.
Great shipwright. Novgorod
Yeah.
wouldn't stand a chance against
the
Noah's
Novgorod
Ark.
would have been absolutely obliterated. There's no way around it. That would have been a really impressive boat to look at.
I would love to see an epic rap battles of history that's in Noah versus the Novgorod. Like,
honestly though, I kind of want to see just Novgorod versus Habakkuk.
that too, I mean,
Who
or
would win?
Noah's Ark versus Habakkuk at this point.
No, like there's no contest when you put the Habakkuk against anything because it's just
Yeah, it's
the biggest. It is longer than the current largest ship in the world by the length of Noah's Ark. Like you could add an extra
Right, like-
Noah's Ark to the front, and then it would be. And I really botched
Yeah, that's
saying
true.
that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know
It's-
what you're saying. You could
yeah.
take the longest ship on Earth, add Noah's Ark to it, and it's still that would be almost the Habakkuk's
That would be just
true
about enough
size.
for the Habakkuk.
It would be
like,
the largest vehicle ever created.
It would be.
So the shooting incident, we got to go over this. We'd be
This
remiss
is
if we did
this
not
is
go
important.
over the.
This is pretty big.
This was an incident that happened during the kind of the pitch meeting for the Habakkuk, if you will.
So, at the Quebec conference in 1943, a man by the name of Lord Mountbatten, he brought a block of pykrete along to demonstrate, how strong it was to the admirals and generals who were accompanying Winston Churchill and FDR. So he shows up at this meeting at a conference with blocks of pykrete, places them on the ground. No. One block of pykrete and another block of normal ice.
Yeah, normal ice.
He took his pistol and shot the block of ice, just the normal ice, and it shattered, as ice does. Then he shot the pykrete, and the bullet ricocheted off and shot an admiral in the leg.
Yeah. So he whips out this pistol in
He
front
just-
of everybody and is like, "Watch this."
He just pulls it
Breaks
out,
the ice.
shoots the ice.
And then, guys, check this out.
What do you do in this situation? Like, did they keep going? Did he shoot the man in the leg and then keep going with his meeting?
Apparently he was
Like-
okay. I mean, I think I'm trying to see where.
Oh, it
the
seems it
details
grazed
were.
his leg. It didn't quite actually.
Yeah, okay. It didn't mortally wound him or anything.
Yeah,
But
he
yeah,
was-
did they
he was
keep
okay.
going? I mean, that must have sold him on the stability of pykrete. Like, dang, that's some strong ice.
Can you imagine? That means that if you shoot at the Habakkuk, it's just going to ricochet. So if you fire a bullet off in the Habakkuk, is it just going to bounce around the walls?
Oh,
Like, if you fire a
wait a
bullet
minute.
in the Habakkuk, yes, but
Yeah.
if you
fire it
a bullet
off at the
the
outside,
Habakkuk,
It'll just bounce back at you.
yes.
So, like, can you imagine
Dude.
Habakkuk pulls up in combat, people try to start dunking on it, and it just keeps ricocheting everything back?
like I don't know which movie it is where they shoot. I guess it's a lot of the Star Wars movies, but like they shoot at the Jedi and they just like ricochet them back with the lightsabers and like kill the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
literally
keep
like
in
what this
mind,
boat
this
would
is
be.
only if you are like standing on the side of your ship and are like standing on the side of your ship and are like shooting at the Habakkuk with an AR
Yeah, like
for
this
no
isn't
reason.
really.
Like, it's not gonna deflect missiles, I
Yeah,
presume.
I want to fire a cannon at it.
They
See what
should
it
have.
does.
They should have brought a cannon into the Quebec conference and then fired it off.
Can you imagine? You're at this conference with a bunch of admirals and generals, and some guy pulls up with a cannon.
It just like rips the tarp off of it and then like
Not
goes
even,
and pulls the rope and
not even a
blasts
modern
it off.
cannon. No, like an old
Oh yeah.
1700s pirate cannon. Just like blast it out of there.
Yeah, it crushes the normal ice and then it ricochets off, kills somebody in the audience. They just drag him away.
God.
Continue with
The block of
demonstration.
pikery doesn't even get sent backwards. It just
No,
doesn't
yeah, it
move.
stays on the pedestal. Can you imagine if
I
the
honestly,
cannonball
like-
shattered?
Oh, that would be terrifying.
That'd
Just
be
like shattered and
scary, dude.
splintered everywhere.
There was a
Oof.
mission in one of the Call of Duty games. I think it was one of the Modern Warfare
They
ones.
put the Habakkuk in Call of Duty?
No, but you had to like,
That'd
in
be
order,
great.
like you had like
That'd
a
be
shooting practice and a knife practice, and you had to shoot at like a target with a gun, and then you had to go over to a watermelon and slice up the watermelon with a knife. But if you decided to shoot the watermelon with the gun, you could just like empty entire magazines on it, and it wouldn't move at all. That's
No.
basically just like the pikery. Here.
That was such a
That-
strange analogy to make. The immortal watermelon from Call of Duty Modern Warfare in like 2000, whenever that was. Wait. Hold up. So it managed to win support of Churchill and Mountbatten, who was the guy that
Oh, yeah.
shot it in the
Yeah.
first place. So it had support. I guess they saw that, yeah, it's going to ricochet off and hit somebody.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So, yeah, they were cool with that.
So then why didn't they make it?
They built a small prototype in 1944. They determined that, yeah, it would cost more money and machinery than a whole fleet of aircraft carriers based on, how much the scale model cost. Oh, they didn't even tell Winston Churchill about that because they were intimidated
No, yeah, they kept
by
that
him.
secret. They were
kept
like,
that secret. They didn't tell anybody. They're like,
Winston Churchill, he's so cool. I don't want to give him the bad news.
Don't want to tell him that.
So he didn't know that was how much money it was going to cost?
Yeah. Didn't want to let him down. I like to think that Churchill was like super, super excited about it. And they just didn't want to crush his
Churchill,
dreams.
as far as I understand it, wasn't a very angry, vengeful character. So I like to think that he was like really excited for this. And this was like the coolest
Yeah,
thing he'd thought of. They would just
Right.
crush him. No, it seems, it says their reasoning was a demand for steel was far too great at the time, which, I mean, there was a world war going on, so I can
So,
kind of,
Yeah.
that makes sense. The entire world was at risk, so basically a lot of reasons as to why this got gypped.
So, even though the Habakkuk is, at the end of the day, just a theoretical boat that was never actually constructed, even though it was a little pricey and a little impractical and it needed to be stupid large, I still think, despite the odds, despite what some may say, it would be really stinking cool to actually
It would be cool.
get one of these built. Like,
It would be really cool. I think
I want to see the Habakkuk in my lifetime. Maybe one day. You guys want to start like a Habakkuk GoFundMe page?
Yeah, I got to raise
Like a Kickstarter?
$2.5 million. Well, it costed that in the 40s.
Oh, this definitely costs more now.
Ooh, we're gonna need a bit. Oh, another thing that should be mentioned before we move on to our next bit here. It has often been said on the podcast, and you may have heard it and potentially been confused. Hey, we should add this character to the Habakkuk.
Oh yeah.
I'll just give a brief explanation of that. The idea is that we're kind of building up a crew of lore figures, the likes of Timothy Dexter, Lady Wonder, the psychic horse, Bass Reeves, the legendary gunman. And we want to put them all on the Habakkuk together and have them fight. It'll be like a giant
Most
battle.
of them are dead, so it'd be like Valhalla, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah. Think of it as like the lore of Valhalla, and they're all fighting together. So one day, I think we should create like some Deep Lore Boys art of all of the famous characters fighting there.
because the Habakkuk could fit like 5 fully grown King Kongs on it, and like
Yeah,
3
that's what we calculated.
Godzillas. I remember coming to that conclusion.
So yeah, at some point in the future, I think that art needs to be made. But until then, we'll just keep adding characters.
So HitchBOT it's a robot, as the name would suggest. He was created by 2 Canadians in 2013.
They designed the robot to learn about how people interact with technology and what they think of it.
We should explain what he is. He's not like a giant humanoid, like war-forged sentient being or nothing. He is
literally just a cool-looking cylinder with arms and legs and a smiley face.
He was
just made of stuff.
So you had to put him in your car, and you'd have to take him.
You'd have to pick him up and put him where he wants to go.
He gained a lot of fame because he hitchhiked all across Canada several times. He even at some point in time went to the Netherlands and Germany.
He was wild, and he was going all over.
He
went all over the place. People were like, "Oh yeah, this is such a cool idea. How about we take him to the United States?" So they dropped him off in Philadelphia. He hadn't gone anywhere yet, and he ended up beaten to death in Philadelphia. There was not even he didn't make it anywhere because he was beaten to death.
Philly did not last, man.
No, Philly lasted. He did not last.
No, Philly was not good to him. Germany, the Netherlands, Canada, all of them, they love him. Philly, no. Nah. And yeah, he existed to see if a robot could trust humans, and he learned after going to Philly. He learned
apparently not in Philly,
whether or not you could.
Poor robot.
This is terrible. I don't know why I'm laughing.
So
at
sad.
It's
poor
really
HitchBOT.
Sad. Poor HitchBOT did not
poor
make it.
HitchBOT.
Yeah, so he was this cool looking cylinder, looks like a Star Wars robot with eyes and a face and stuff. He had like just kind of ragdoll arms and legs with like rubber gloves and boots on. He looked really cool. He was dripped out.
His arms and legs, if I recall correctly, were made out of blue pool noodles, and then he had big like boots and rubber boots and gloves on.
He was dripped out.
He was more of an AI, right?
Yeah, he's more of an AI than an actual robot.
The thing I find really ironic with this thing is that like it's supposed to study the interactions of humans with it. HitchBOT is
right,
and then it's like he just gets
beaten to death in Philadelphia.
I wonder.
Oh wait, hold up. So it got beaten up and stuff, but apparently some nice people were able to find out. They were able to chart down where it wound up. And took images and sent it. They were just like, "Man, I got some bad news for you." And the people that ran like the website and stuff for it just said like, "Yeah, it's beyond repair. There's no use." And
they went on record to say there is not a single wire inside, and all things are broken. Yeah, I think it was also decapitated.
It was. They decapitated him.
Oh, great, Scott!
Oh man,
don't take your hitchhiking robots to America. Apparently.
America in general is pretty nice. Philly though, like okay, anywhere else in the US, think of one other place in the US where you think this would have been beaten up. Maybe Detroit or Chicago.
For sure.
Okay, yeah, Detroit or Chicago. Those are both like still in the general vicinity of Northeast to like Eastern Midwest.
Yeah.
Like on the West Coast, even in LA, I think he would have been fine.
He would have been killed in Portland. Are you kidding me?
No, Portland might have let him go. I'm not.
So? I love how we're just lumping like all of an entire city.
Oh yeah, no, you can do that. You can
stereotype. You can. I'm not saying
in the South or the Southwest, he would have been fine. He would just get ignored in the Midwest.
Out here in Buffalo, I don't think he'd get beaten to death, but I think we paint him like Bills colors and put a Bills hat on him, and then he'd never leave the city.
Yeah, he would become like an icon of this. We would like make some dumb rumor that we actually invented him. We'd try to like make him a part of our local culture.
We wouldn't beat him to death, but we would hold him hostage.
Yeah, we'd hold him hostage. We'd tell everybody that like we made him. He's ours, and everybody else like, no, it's not.
He'd get brought to Bills games and stuff. He'd be there. The Bills would like take a picture with him.
I would love to go to a Bills game and just see a robot there just chilling.
I guess we should state for the viewers, in case you haven't already figured it out, we all grew up in the Buffalo area, at least near enough to Buffalo. No, actually, that's not true. I should rephrase. You guys grew up in Maryland, moved here. I grew up in the Buffalo area. So Buffalo is very very near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, it's kind of a goofy, silly place.
Hold on. Here's something important. So this was actually, the HitchBOT was a very popular, like kind of like a meme that was like someone was like joking around about it, and the meme said that it was immediately beaten to death in Philly right after they dropped it off.
It was beaten to death.
Kind of implied. That's not entirely how it went. It did successfully go from Boston to New York, and stopped at Times Square to take a few photos. Okay. But Philadelphia was not kind to it.
It did not make it much further.
Oh, they were going to recreate. Yeah, they made HitchBOT 2.0 in 2019. It was sent to Paris. It appeared in a play called Killing Robots.
You don't say.
Yeah, and then
it had to be put on hold.
Yeah, they put it on hold because of COVID, and
it never came back.
Oh, that was the end.
You know, we'll see it at some point.
Yeah, sometime.
The HitchBOT believers don't get too disappointed. He'll come back.
Can you imagine that he comes back and this time he fights back? Somebody tries to beat him up, and this time he's got a weapon. HitchBOT just with a gun.
Honestly, no. What if it was like there was like a bomb attached to him? It's like the moment you rip him apart or like you beat him, it
break
just sets
him,
off the
he detonates.
Yeah.
HitchBOT self-destruct.
What happens if you get in a car accident and he gets damaged?
Self-destruct.
He just car bomb.
Can you imagine, dude? Could you imagine freaking? Even if he didn't have a self-destruct, because he could talk to you. Imagine if he said that he was going to self-destruct while you're driving with him in the car. It's just
self-destruct in 5, 4. Like, what do you do?
Again, like, I'm not an expert on robots, so I don't know. Like, I get that there's an AI. It's not like self-aware or anything like that. So, like, was it
deeply philosophical being?
So, was it actually like somewhat aware of like?
No, it had no clue.
No, I think it did talk though, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it says he was able to carry on basic conversation and talk about facts.
Yeah, I guess. What country was this in? I have the story open here, and it's been a while since I've read it. There was a wedding happening, and I guess he talked at the wedding, like during the service. I think he said, "I like to make friends," and then just.
Who took him to a wedding? Like, that's just...
I'm not sure.
Take a random robot to a wedding, that is kind of...
Oh, it was in Canada. That makes sense.
According to British Columbia CTV News, everybody at the wedding was really excited, and a few people who didn't know about HitchBOT learned about it. One person who was there says, "I think it was treated well for the most part. It may have partied a little too hard, but it was good." So, like,
dude.
Canadians, like, they showed him a good party.
Fun,
I mean, maybe he had a few too many drinks or something, but he wasn't beaten to death in British Columbia. They said that he was a little bit beat up, like, at the end of the party, but it wasn't intentional. It was more just like they had to duct tape him up a bit.
He launched himself off a balcony and tried to break a table.
He went full Bills fan.
Yeah, they're like, "No, HitchBOT,
HitchBOT, don't do it."
So yeah, moral of the story, don't take your robot to Philadelphia. Rest in peace, HitchBOT. I mean,
what he says that his last tweet, he said, "My love for humans will never fade. Thanks, friends."
Their love for you sure faded.
Yeah, their love for you, man. This poor guy.
Don't get in a one-sided relationship, man.
Yeah, be careful, man. Be careful. In the wise words of Donald J. Trump, bad things happen in Philadelphia.
Apparently he was right, man.
Gosh.
He was right.
On Fandom, it says that the HitchBOT was murdered by Ted Cruz.
No.
Cause of death murdered by Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz got to him.
Why do I like this theory so much? Like,
because it comes from Fandom Wiki, which is the best website on the planet. I trust Fandom Wiki more than I trust actual wiki.
Wait, hang on. I just clicked onto an article. It said, over the weekend, a lovable, harmless robot was found decapitated in the outskirts of Philadelphia. There's only one possible explanation for who did it. The CIA. And that's...
The CIA.
That's how it opens. They're very confident.
They know.
The CIA. The lizard people.
Oh, the lizards. The lizards killed HitchBOT.
The lizards... Dang, we got to start an uprising.
Yeah, HitchBOT knew something that we don't.
He saw something in Philly. What did he see? Maybe he knew about the lizard tunnels. He saw the Philly lizard tunnels, and they had to kill him.
Oh.
If you all want to know about lizards and lizard people, go back to the beloved episode 3 of the podcast because we cover it all there.
All right, expanding Earth. So, you guys know how we had Pangea back in the day, and before that we had what was it, like Rodinia or something, and it kept on going and going, and we kept
And
getting
those,
these.
for people who don't know, are like Pangea was like a supercontinent, right?
It was basically all the continents were together in one big continent. It was
Yeah.
awesome. It was great. But what if I told you that the continents didn't just move around? No. There used to be no ocean at all. The Earth used to be smaller, and that's why all the continents were together. And then as the Earth has gotten older, it's grown larger and larger.
Just like you.
Yeah. It's like
just
a
how
person.
you start out small and you grow up.
Start out like a little baby, and then you grow into a big old guy.
So yeah, expanding Earth theory. It's apparently a real theory that's out there that people have thought about a lot in the past. And to be fair, I mean, it's interesting to think about. I kind of wish that it was more viable than it was. A lot of different people throughout history have had thoughts about it, but it's generally always bounced back to, yeah, nah, this isn't really feasible. And from what I can tell, there's not like a die-hard expanding Earth community in the same way that Flat Earth has the gathering that it does. There's nobody really pushing this idea and like believing in it against all odds. It's just kind of a, hey,
Except
could
for us.
this maybe? Except for us.
Except for us. I believe it.
I must discuss this one thing, though. As absolutely bizarre as this is, Earth technically does expand to an incredibly small degree because of all the meteorites that hit Earth. There's like a lot of meteorites do fall on Earth, Matthew.
56 tons worth of rock on average fall to Earth every day.
Which sounds like a lot, but the Earth weighs a lot more than 56 tons.
Yeah, a lot more than that. So
Earth isn't expanding, but it is gaining mass. I will say that.
Yeah, it's.
Hold on, is the 56 tons thing, is that accurate?
That's what I've always heard.
Man, 43 tons.
Oh, I was overestimating.
Close, but still.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so Charles Darwin noticed that just the way that Patagonia was looking while he was, going around on voyages and stuff, he noticed that some of the beaches there were like, how you have like beach and then big cliff and then beach, we've all seen that. He's thinking, what's going on here? Why is the ground that high up above the water? And so he's thinking something must have happened that blasted the ground up above the water. Maybe it wasn't instant, but over time, maybe it's being pushed up. And then he realized, what if the Earth is expanding and it's pushing up certain parts higher than others? Maybe that's why. Oh yeah, maybe that's why mountains exist too, is because it's just pushing those up higher, as the ocean floor is like the space between them that just sits there, which is kind of interesting, actually.
But we now know this is not true.
Yeah, it is. No, it is like, it makes sense. I can see how in 1834 a man could have come to this conclusion. And it's just a theory, maybe. But no, we now understand that it's definitely true that the Earth expanded.
The Earth has expanded. Can we talk about this as if it's...
Yeah, I believe
it is
in this
completely
theory.
true.
This is a real theory.
The Earth, how small was the Earth at one point? Like
it
when
literally
all the
was
were
a couple atoms that all were held together by electrostatic attraction back in like the pre-alpha phase, when they were just orbiting around an accretion disk.
Held together by vibes.
Yeah, they literally just vibed together. Earth was once a dust bunny. That is one of my favorite things. Dust bunnies are literally just small planets in formation.
Because it's like the gravity. It's kind of like putting together like that mass, right?
Dust bunnies, not gravity, electrostatic attraction. It's different.
Oh,
dust bunnies form.
Baby
that
planet.
is literally how planets form.
Planet fetus.
Yes, that is a planet fetus is legitimately a dust bunny.
So, what's it called? Yeah, it's in beta. So, Matthew, would you say that Earth right now is in beta, or would you say
No, I'd say at this point it's, it's gotten old now.
Okay.
Because see, it all
it's
broke
old
apart.
Earth?
Yeah.
So would you say that now we're in like the DLC form of Earth, or would you say we've gotten we're not to the sequel yet?
Well, no, we've definitely hit like the fully grown stage because everything's broken apart now. So I think we only got a bit more.
So what about shrinking Earth theory?
Yo.
Kind of like the Big Crunch, only with the Earth.
The Big Crunch is the most brutal thing in theoretical future concepts. I hate the Big Crunch. I hate everything about that. Goku could not beat the Big Crunch. It's literally just the theory. You know, you have the Big Bang where the universe blows up and then everything moves outwards slowly over a period of time. And then eventually people believe that it's going to stretch to the point where it can't anymore and then bounce back even faster.
So everything's just going to be pulled into the center of the universe
is just
and
get
die.
Dragged in. And eventually the universe is just going to blip. So everybody will be crammed into like a tiny space and we'll all die. And
well, we gotta make sure the Earth doesn't do that because it blew up. What if it shrinks again?
What if dude, we have expanding Earth and then shrinking Earth.
So real talk here. Expanding Earth, donut Earth theory, flat Earth. How do they rank? Oh yeah, Velociraptor Earth, of course. Rank them.
Expanding Earth is the most viable by far.
Oh, you don't have to rank them by which one is most viable.
Oh, by most based?
Just rank them however you want.
I really like Expanding Earth a lot. I think it's epic because like Donut Earth is like it's a different shape. We've heard all the different concepts of Earth being a different shape before. It's just what if it's flat? What if it's a dinosaur? What if it's a cylinder? But the idea of it remaining a sphere and just getting bigger, like that's a whole different concept to me.
It's original.
It's new. Like it.
Well, I mean, it's not. It's been around since 1834.
Oh,
but,
it has, yeah. But it's
but
something different. It kind of changes things up. It mixes it up a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I will always be a proponent of the expanding Earth theory myself.
The government is lying to you. The Earth is expanding. Don't listen.
The lizard people are lying to you.
Well, if the government's lying to you, then that is just the lizard people.
Yeah.
Right.
The lizard people, they dug ravines around the continents. They maybe the lizard people engaged in like really brutal trench warfare back in the day in like the primal phase.
And they dug the continents apart from each other.
Yeah, they literally carved massive trenches.
So much so that the Earth was expanded.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I usually say at the end of the episodes, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Deep Lore Boys podcast. I think I speak for me, Matthew, and Jackson, and Scout even, when I say this podcast has been a blast. Really enjoy doing it. Always get a lot of laughs out of it. Good. And yeah, it's been very good. There are several reasons why we thought changing seasons might be a good idea, but the main one that I think we all arrived at, the main reason is just like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd just be fun.
To have multiple seasons.
We're simply built different.
This podcast is built different. There's lizard people hiding in every other podcast you might find, but this is a reptilian-free zone. Leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll catch you in the next one. Until then, I hope your day is nothing short of interesting. Take care.
Goodbye.
See
I
you
love
guys.
you.
See you guys next season.
I almost just left the call after that, too.
That would have been great.
Nah.
Kisses.
Yeah. We'll see you around. Best of luck to y'all. I'm gonna go post that one on Twitter.com.